Okay, another Sunday in the middle of March has come up, and we are here talking about interesting themes. And tonight, theme is the change. And how do we embrace the change or we resist against the change? And my lovely Katrin is here with us in order to talk about it and think, actually, is change a nice thing to happen or is change something to avoid? Hello, my dear.
Yes. Hello. Hello. Hope you are fine. It's nice to see you again.
Nice to see you too.
Yes.
How is Norway?
Norway is changing.
Changing. In
Yeah.
what?
No, it's changing in season. It's changing with restrictions, and that's the same. It changes every week. Something change. So it's a great theme we are talking about today because it is really very relevant all the
Yeah,
time.
it is.
And especially maybe now with the situation that we are in, that it requires us to change much more than before, maybe.
Yeah.
But we are fine. We are swimming, not against the stream, but we are, maneuvering around and adapting to change. Yeah. What about you there?
Actually, the same. Every day, new
Mm.
announcements, every week, different plans. And we are also trying to adapt to
Mm.
everything that it's being announced. Yeah. And
Mm. Mm.
what COVID, the one thing that COVID has taught us is to be flexible to change. We
Yes.
have learned to be flexible. Otherwise, we will not survive.
And I think when exactly what you bring up there with the flexibility, that is such an important part of change. You know,
Mhm.
if you resist change, you are not flexible either. You know, then you are very stuck in your ways. So I think that flexibility is a key word when it comes to change.
Yeah, that's true.
And it
And mm,
and I
yes,
think when we talk about to have options, and that's what happens with change. You never know, like we talked about before, what's going to happen in life. We all know one thing. We don't know when it's going to happen, but everything else is kind of changing. It's ever changing. So it's something about this flexibility. When you have that, you have so much more options. And you can change the change as well. You don't have to stick with it. You can find other ways of coping with change.
whenever I think about change, I think that there are two kinds of
Mm.
changing.
Mm.
The one is
Mm.
that comes as a need from inside of you, and that's
Mm.
a change that you wish to happen. And the other type of change is that comes from the external environment. And then
Mm.
maybe you don't have the alternative not to change. Okay, if it
Mm.
happens from
Mm.
inside, you have the time and the right to think about cost and benefit of the situation of the change, and then decide.
Mm.
If it's coming
Mm.
from the external environment, you just have to find ways in order to adapt to the new situation, and that's
Mm.
where flexibility arises.
Mm. Mm.
Um, and no matter from which direction this change comes, the choice of embracement is something that will give you the option to go with the flow, and on the way find different directions that you can cope with that change. Do you agree?
Yeah, and I think it's very interesting that you say that the two ways that we have, there we are, changes, is the one that is coming from externally and the other one that comes from within ourselves. And I think always it will end up, excuse me, coming from the inside of how we react to the change, you know, whether we are gonna cope or embrace it or resist it. Something happens within us when we meet the change. When we want to change, we meet something, we have to go through some barriers. And when we experience the change, we also have to go through something within ourselves. You know, even if they say, you know, this is like you can't go out after 9 o'clock. You still have that, yeah? So it's something about if you can't go out after 9 o'clock, you can be angry about it or irritated, or you can just go, okay, that's it, you know, that's the way it is. I'm not going to waste energy on it. So I'm going to find ways to make the change good for me. Yeah?
Yeah, yeah. Good evening, Kalis. Good evening, Christina.
Good evening, Michale and Christina. Christina, I wouldn't guess that on the name that is written in this beautiful language, but I just heard you.
Yeah.
Hello.
Okay. In the when we hear the word change, the first thing that comes to our mind is not positive. Actually, I mean, whenever you hear somebody says that I have to change or I need to change, you don't think it with a positive point of view, do you?
Well, I find it funny you ask because I love changes.
You love changes. That's interesting. Yes. That's interesting.
Yes. I mean, I always, I love variations. I love that things change and are not staying the same. And I think it has very much to do with, like, I have this in my mind. I think that everyone at the bottom somewhere like change. That's just something that I kind of believe that it at some point after a year, 2 years, 10 years, we embrace the change. But at the beginning, when we kind of, like I remember in Norway when they had this stop smoking law passed by the government, people were mad, crazy.
Also
you know, no, how stupid and silly and all this. And after just a short time, let's say 6 months, 1 year, people couldn't think that, oh my God, that we were smoking inside at discotheques, at restaurants, everywhere. So I think there's something about change is very much connected to the uncertainty.
Uncertainty.
What is going to happen? Yes, I think so.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, because we know what we have and we adapt to what we kind of live in. And then when the change comes, we are kind of, you know, where can I put my feet back down and be like solid ground again and continue walking? So I think it's something about this uncertainty and it scares us. And we go, don't like it, don't want it. I want my chair, you know?
Yeah.
Like you see, if you come, it's very easy. This happens so quickly. If you're having participants for a dinner and people sit down by the table and they have a break and they sit down at the same chair, you know, even though they go back and forth because we so easy get secure in our space.
Of course.
You know, we find this, this is where I can have mine. So it's also, I think, linked to security and to be safe. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think that certainty is definitely one of the human being's need, definitely,
Mm.
as
Mm.
well as the variety, like you said, you very well
Mm.
said. Um, the problem, not the problem, but the worry with change is
Mm.
the unknown that is coming, and what will that unknown bring to
Yes.
my life, to your life, and to our environment life.
Mm. Mm.
Um, that's the reason that many people avoid changes, like changing a job that doesn't satisfy you, or
Mm.
changing a home that
Mm.
doesn't satisfy you anymore, or any change. It's the
Mm.
unknown that we don't know and we are fighting against. But
Mm.
I dare to say that
Mm.
sometimes this unknown brings marvelous results. And if we embrace it, if we are ready to embrace it, I'm definitely sure that whatever comes up, we will find a way to
Mm.
move towards the best direction. And then we are ready to give the
Mm.
best of ourselves to whatever comes. It has been stuck, Michalis says.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah,
What is he saying? It's been
it's
stopped.
stuck. The internet.
Oh, the internet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's hope that it will recover.
Yes. So perfect. If can you send him a message in the chat there, or is it stopped?
Okay. So somebody else says that they can hear as well. Thank you, Martina. Thank you for that.
Okay.
So maybe it's only for one person, the problem with the internet. Anyway,
Yeah.
what I was saying is that, yeah, if we embrace the change, we may find ways in order to give the best results, to bring the best results
Mm.
out of
Mm.
that change. And
Mm.
remember that the human brain works with the law of the minimum effort. I know
Mm.
something, I know how to do it, and I do it. Okay, thank you,
Mm.
Michali.
Yeah.
And I do it. If something
Mm.
changes, and let's take a simple example of if we
Mm.
decide one day to go to our work from a different direction, the brain will have to think, okay, now we'll go from this, and then I have to turn this, and it's something unknown. Okay, if I do
Mm.
it one, two, three, four times, then I will get used to it, and it will be in autopilot.
Mm.
A
Mm.
lot of
Mm.
times we say that
Yes.
we are driving with the autopilot.
Mm.
So
Mm.
if we don't try something else, if we don't try a change in what we are doing in simple things every single day,
Mm.
then we will not
Mm.
have the experience of living with something new, something different than before.
Mm.
And that's
Mm.
life, actually. Life is change on its own.
Yes, and that's why I think that's why I agree with you so much, and I think the example is great. And I think we should always walk in new direction or a way or look around somewhere that we haven't done before, because it's something about one thing is stimulating the brain to start to think and make broader maps so we can use more of our capacity,
Mm-hmm.
but also kind of get ourselves out of that everyday trance,
Yeah.
that we kind of are in. And then we are not robots, of course not, but sometimes we kind of behave like we do the same thing over and over again, and that kind of limits the brain's capacity to make these bigger maps. And like I said, when I love change, I think because I love the unknown as well, because I think in the unknown, when you can be calm and curious about the unknown, so many opportunities arises, you know,
True.
because you are open to whatever comes next, you know. If you are very rigid, that you do not want change, that you are scared of change, you also lose on opportunities, I think. You know, you become more narrow, not so flexible, as we talked about. So I think, you know, we don't know what's going to happen in 1 hour, tomorrow, with the next weekend, next year is, you know, we don't really know. So it's something about that we always, like you say, live in the change, because we are human beings changing with age and every day, what we learn and experience, but also with life, with surroundings around us are changing. And I remember I read it actually on a cup, which I gave to my father.
Oh, okay.
And it says, you know, it says, if you stand on the same spot for too long, dogs can think that you are a tree. So what do dogs do when they see trees? You know, they go to the
What?
toilet,
Yeah. Oh,
you know. So if you stand in the same place for too long, dogs might think that you are a tree. And I gave this, of course, it was a little bit of a joke, but also some truth in it, because my father is much more,
mm,
well, change is fine. Yes, it's not negative to change, but he's much more less to change than I would prefer for myself. So that stuck with me in my head, that, you know, if you stand too long in the same spot, like still, I'm staying
you,
here in the same job, even if I don't like it. I stay in the same relationship, even if I don't like it. I do the same things. I eat the same things, even if I want to lose weight or whatever. You know, then you won't move on. You won't get the benefit. You won't get the gift. You will get what you don't want. The dog doing his thing on you, basically.
yeah, 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 yeah. And there are so many things that we don't want, and still we don't dare to change them.
Mm.
So
But I
many
think
things.
also,
So
yeah, but
many habits, for example, a habit that doesn't serve
yeah.
us, and we don't
Mm.
change it because we are used to that, you
Mm.
know. And
Mm.
time passes, days are passing, months are passing, years are passing, and we are still there because we are afraid of what will come without it, or what will come with something different from it. And maybe that's a
Mm.
very good question to ask ourselves in case of change. What would I
Mm.
lose and what would I gain in order to
Absolutely.
create the motivation and do it? And not
Mm.
only do it,
Mm.
but embrace it with
Mm.
joy,
Mm.
not with worry.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
oh my god, because we tend to make the worst case scenarios, what will happen, and how it's going to be, and instead of wow, something new arises, let's welcome
Mm.
it and see what will come.
Mm.
It's also a tendency of the brain to make the worst case scenarios instead
Yeah.
of the best case scenarios, huh?
Yeah, and especially because change is very much connected to uncertainty, or to be safe and to know what's sort of on your chair at your table, you know what's going on, and you are kind of good with that. But I love what you say with these two
Two choices, two.
yes, you know, what do I gain? What do I lose? And also, I would like to add a third. one, and that's what's the worst thing that can happen? You know, what is really the worst thing that can happen now? When I let go of, you know, if I let go of this, stop eating this or start walking, or, you know, stop having contact with that person that is negative for me, or whatever it can be. What's the worst thing that can happen? In addition to your brilliant questions.
Yeah.
Because it's like you say, Peggy, it's like you say that our brain, when we let the feelings of worry enter into the brain, we start making crisis scenarios that we don't want. And it becomes so big that we just say, oh, this is too much. I can't handle it. Yeah? Do you recognize?
Yeah. But that's how the brain has been constructed. The theme is that since we know it, what else can we do about that? I mean, the function of the brain is just to survive, to make us survive, and avoid any of the difficult or risky circumstances. Okay, but since there's not any of this emergency, let's recognize it and move differently. Hello, Evie. Hello, Mary.
Hello, nice to see you.
Yeah, and we know that exists. We know that that's happening. So why not to change it for our good development, for our development, and not for staying in the same situation for years and years and years without having any progress? Because change is a progress. It can be a progress, actually.
Absolutely. I think it's that's the key word also. Change is really progress, you know, even if it's tough sometimes to let go of things that we are feel attached to, or that gives us a certain security. It's like a relief when we finally do, you know, because most likely these things, we have felt it somewhere for many, sometimes years, like you say.
Of course.
And when we kind of get that, whatever it comes from, this courage to do it, we really kind of have this feeling of relief. So it's something about, if we look at change as a part of life, as a part of our journey here on our own and together, it becomes interesting, it becomes enriching, and it sort of, it gives a little spice to that everyday life as well. And I like to think also that we have this one life, and it's just too precious to sit around for years and years and hang on to something that you really want to let go of. So I think change is, like you say, it's life, it's the process, it's enrichment, it's progress, and it's all these opportunities that arises from
The restricted.
Yes. I was going to say tunnel, but I don't know. Do you have any tunnels in Greece?
Tunnels, yeah, we do have. We do have, yeah. And they don't allow us to go anywhere. Only there.
No. Yeah.
There's no exit.
Yes, exactly.
No?
No, okay. No, we have lots of tunnels. We have so many mountains, so we have tunnels going everywhere through the mountains, and yes, etc. But the point is, with this metaphor, is that there's, when you don't embrace change, you will always have this sight of a tunnel, you know. Yes, you will see what you will see, and there is always a light at the end of the tunnel. But all these little bits and pieces, all these sparkles around the light, all these rays of light, you will miss.
Yeah, that's true. And then you miss life, actually.
then you miss life. And
in the end.
I think if we can start to kind of rethink how we look upon change, we rethink how we look upon life, and maybe we can also rethink about what do I love about my life? You know, despite everything that's happening, all these changes, etc. What do I love about it? How could I change it? How could I develop some more in myself? And do what you said so nicely in the beginning. The change inside then can kind of spark more innovation, more happiness, more joy. And that also triggers someone else. And that's when we start to build the bridges unconsciously, just as a nice effect of, you know, doing some, how do you say, when you move in your house, when you're sick of the setting, you move the sofa under the window and you move things around. You redecorate. Yes. And that's the same here. You put somewhere
excellent
in a
metaphor.
Different space. You
excellent
know?
Metaphor.
And how is it here? When I sit at my sofa and look outside the window and see this, what's the difference from when I'm here? And that is change. And just that is a nice little practice to just move something around, turn the chair, the bed. Don't do anything with the toilet. Don't turn that. But, you know, just little bits and pieces. And then there's change. And you will realize that, I'm still sitting on a chair, but I have a nice view. Maybe I see something totally different from here that I like better. Yeah?
Yeah, because with change, you very well said it. With changes, you change the your perception about life, about different aspects of life. There's a new corner that you can see everything that happens around you, and that's the adventure and the interesting part of life. If you don't do it and you just stay at the same corner all your life, you will miss the game of life, and you will miss the interesting things that may come with changing your corner. Huh? And I don't know if you agree, but changes brings me the idea of knowing your values of life first, because values in life construct your compass, your own unique compass. So if you know your values, no matter what comes from the external environment, you will find the way to move and to stay consistent on these values. And since you are consistent on these values, I'm sure that you will not feel uncertain, you will not feel anxious or worried about what's going to come next. That's how I think of it, and I feel it. And I have experienced it, actually. If you know that variety is one of my values, then whatever comes, you will cope with the change under that perspective. If you say that your value is always staying the same, and you resist to that, of course you will not cope it with the same way.
And I love that you bring in values, and I think we should do a live on values, because that is so important and so a nice tool to learn to embrace change in different ways. When you are more aware of what really are my values, you know, meaning what's important to me and not to everyone else, but to me as the person who I am. And then the question comes up, who am I? Which is always an interesting question that can change. And that is changing along the way of life. And
Of course.
like you say, the game of life, that it doesn't have one corner, it has at least 4, maybe lots more. So I think that's really important when it comes to change, because it's something, if you change all the time, someone else changes, or the society is changing. And then the neighbor is saying something that, oh, I have to do this. And you change all the time. You become restless.
Yeah.
And anxious, and kind of, you can also have the feeling then of losing yourself, because you have spread yourself like sand everywhere with the wind, not picking up the pieces of who you are. So I think that is really important when it comes to change, and how we meet change, with embracement, or with, and also like this in example that I talk about now, is that if we like when I say embrace, so it's not change just for the changing, just to change, but to realize how you can turn the change into a resource that is enriching your life, enriching yourself, and start moving around this furniture inside.
Because if one thing you change, then a lot, it's like domino effect. A lot can change.
Yeah.
And not only inside you, but to your environment also. But you must be certain and sure that you want that change. And if, for example, if somebody's value is growth cannot happen without change. How can we grow without changing?
No, it's and that's so interesting, because change is life. Change is really happening all the time. Now, when we're going to go to bed tonight, when we wake up tomorrow, we have changed. Our cells are renewed. We have slept. We have, get refreshed during the night. We have had dreams and thoughts. Something is new with us. Even if we kind of more or less look the same, something has changed. And that's why if we kind of look upon change, like you say, that it's life, it's the course and the adventure of life, it's really open for, if that's what it is, how could I kind of pick and look upon it as gold, like nuggets of gold, like wisdom, like development, like joy. And even, like, I got myself a dog, meaning that every time I meet people, it's even easier to talk to people. But I don't know if that's a good thing, because my boyfriend always says that, oh my God, now you even talk more to people than you did before.
I'm sure that one of your values is connection.
Absolutely. You are right. Yes. And but the funny thing is that, now, even without a dog, I say hello to everyone. Everyone I meet, even if I don't know them. And this is just a little bit of an experiment, actually, to just see the reaction of people, when they experience a strange person saying hello.
Unknown person.
Yes. Yeah, not strange, but yes, unknown. And maybe a bit strange. I don't know.
Strange you're not, but you're unknown to them.
Yes, unknown. And it has the funny thing that everyone has said hello, and I have seen this little smile on their face, and even started a conversation. Like, something happens when we do something, we change something. From not doing it to everyone, or maybe not doing it at all, to doing it to everyone, and something changes within me, and also with the external, the people, whatever surrounding. So building these bridges, breaking the barriers, because you do something different, you change something. And I find it so fulfilling and so enriching just to do little things like that. It just makes life, our journey, so much more interesting.
Yes, and change may not be something great
Are
and
you there?
something gorgeous. I'm there. I'm here. Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I am here now. Yes, I think
Good.
it's a bit the
We
connection.
have some
Yeah.
intervals in between, but it's okay. We'll go on.
Yeah.
And like you said, change may not be something gorgeous and bright and wide and so small things. I mean, you can create, you can cause a change to somebody else only by just saying good morning or hello. There, you cause his or her internal change, psychological change. Some days ago, I've been to a supermarket and I wanted to buy something and I couldn't find it. So I've asked from a lady there to help me and find it. And I just told her that thank you very much, you're excellent. And she was smiling. I could see it underneath the mask, of course, but I could see her eyes.
Yeah.
And she just said, thank you very much. You're wonderful too. And I'm sure that not so many people would appreciate the job of this lady. And even talking to her and giving her the value that she had, but say it's a change for her. Okay.
And this is how, because the funny thing, no matter how much money we have or where we live or what we believe and what color skin we have or whatever, we are all the same. We are all the same. None is above, none is below, but we are all equal. So it's something about when you do those little acts of, I don't know, changes. You do basically changes yourself, and it's so well said with this example that you come with here, that you do something good for others by changing yourself. And maybe then when you do these kind of changes, it's easier to sort of embrace change because you realize that the ripple effect is so much, means much to you, even if there's an unknown person. But in that moment, something happens within you, and then something happens within another one. And
Yeah.
that's the connection and these bridges that we are building. And I think that's so valuable, when it comes to the journey and adventure of life, that's really basically what it is all about. At the end of the day, it's about making the changes for yourself so others can and others can, and we can be more and more living from our heart.
Yeah. And the benefits from living from our heart and realize that everything changes, like Heraclitus, a great Greek philosopher, said, everything changes, is the most important and precious advice, let's say, or saying, whatever anybody wants to say. And that's life. That's life. So it's wise not to resist and embrace any change, and also dare to create the change,
Yeah.
because the change brings progress, change brings growth, and that's how life um, gets spicy and interesting.
Yeah. I love that. And you have so many fantastic philosophers and intelligent, wise men and women, in your history and also in your present world. But I also like to think about change with the seasons, because if you look at winter, autumn, spring, and summertime, they all have something special about them. but they have two things in common. That is, something is dying and something else is being born.
Mhm.
Something is dying, something else is being born.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, what kind of season you prefer, but I guess we all have our preferences with the season. But when we look closer to the 4 seasons, if we have them, or how many they are, there are bits and pieces within every season that is very appreciative, and that is such a nice and maybe valuable way of looking at change. You know, that something dies, something gets reborn or being born, and then it's a cyclus, and there's something
Yeah.
beautiful about it.
And there comes the matter of focusing. Where do you focus on? On the thing that it's been born, or on the thing that it's dying? Everything
That's
is a matter of focus. And even in change, you either focus on the good things that will come, and that's why you are causing the change, either or to the unknown bad things that may come, and most of the time they don't come, and we can see it
that's
in our life.
yeah, and I think it's so good, just to sort of wrap it up here. I think it's so good what you said with that life is change, and if we don't look upon change with embracing it, we miss out on life.
Yeah.
So it's something about when we know
It's that
that,
simple.
we also know where to focus if we don't want to miss out on life, you know, and all these incredible situations and places and people and tastes and smells and everything and feelings that we human beings are so lucky to be able to experience. So, you know, just and you know, it's something fun about the unknown, because it's exciting. You
Not
don't know
for
what's there.
everybody, though.
But if you look upon it as being exciting, you know, because you don't know. If you're curious, you know, maybe it's easier.
First of all,
Maybe.
it arises the self-confidence, because everything unknown that you manage gives up more self-confidence, and then you slightly change the way you see yourself, and then you slightly change the way you see other people too. You know, everything is a chain. Nothing is on its own. No, what's that from a chain is on its own. There's a whole chain.
It's all linked
Hello,
together.
Panagiotis. Panagiotis Chagas is with us.
Ah,
So
hello,
I know
Panagiotis.
that you
Nice
want
to
to
see you.
go and help your boy, your son, on his exams. And that's a change for tonight. That's also a change for our
That's a
life
change.
tonight.
Yeah.
And we have to be flexible and cope with
Two
it.
changes. Yes, exactly. That's it.
So let's
Great.
give him wishes for succeeding in his exams. I know that his mom will help him the most, and let's hope that the people who are watching us and who will watch us after we end will see change as an opportunity for a different life, a different perspective, and embrace it with joy, love, and an adventurous spirit, and not with fear and, oh my God, what's going to happen? That's what we want for them to keep from our tonight's live. Correct?
Yes, that is correct. And if you want to practice, move around the furniture in your house, and there you go. Changes had happened just there, and you might end up loving it, you know, maybe.
Yeah. That's a test. That could be a test.
Yeah, that's a test, yeah.
First step.
Yeah.
Okay, my
Thank you
love.
so much
Thank you so
this
much
nice
also.
conversation, and thank you to everyone who has been with us tonight and who will watch us later. And I just say, big kiss, kalinista, y
Kalinista
Eparisto.
Katinaki. Good,
Yeah,
good, well.
there we go. Yes.
Let's have a wonderful week.
Yes.
Thank you,
Same to you,
Vasilikis, also.
everyone.
Thank you,
Yeah.
everyone. Good
See
night.
you. Good
Bye-bye.
night. Bye
Bye.
bye.